morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by the good folks at Vaughn Lane. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined daily by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Be sure to tell us where you're checking in from this morning. Get your questions in. Let us know what you're drinking, all that good stuff. And we got a lot to talk about, mainly with recruiting this morning. Get your water, get ready. You're going to be talking a lot about recruiting this morning, Jerry.
It's hot on the practice fields. It's hot on the practice fields in Florida too, man. The heat's here. I've heard it's hot in Texas and Houston this week too. Apparently this is the first hot week in Florida. So yes, it's been a two practices yesterday. But let's get into the commitment news because it was a big one.
That's right.
Jermaine Bishop Jr. out of Willis, one of the top playmakers in the country in the 26 class. As Bobby said, you have 12 minutes of highlights. You're probably making a lot of plays and a lot of games on both sides of the ball in the return game at halftime with the tuba, whatever you're doing. This is Jermaine Bishop, obviously related to Michael Bishop. Jermaine Bishop Sr. played on some of those really good teams at Willis High School as well, related to Michael Bishop. But I talked to a lot of people yesterday. It was funny is I was on my way to American Heritage to see Dia Bell when the Jermaine Bishop commitment went down. And I was talking to Dia, and I was like, hey, Dia. I was like, did he tell you it was coming today? He said, no. He said he had texted with him. He said he knew he was leaning Texas big, but he wasn't sure he was going to do it Wednesday as he did. So, and I talked to a family member of Jermaine Bishop yesterday as well, and they were like, hey, we knew it was coming. We didn't know it was going to be yesterday. So I think Jermaine kind of said, I'm ready to be done with the process. I think going into the process, his top two schools were Texas and LSU, and we've documented, we've shown photos on here that the parents were big on Texas. I think the mom really liked the idea of her son being close to home at Texas, the education with the football. Then I talked to Bobby. I talked to a couple of other people late last night, and it's not – wow, that's good. That's good stuff. The acceleration is good. Boy, hey, Michael Bishop, that's against Kansas State. But it's not locked in what side of the ball he's going to play on. Like, he likes the idea of being a corner or secondary player, maybe as much as he does wide receiver, where, you know, it's interesting. Jalen Lott or Michael Terry will lean more to wide receiver. Jermaine Bishop is, I think, good on either side of the ball, but he's just looked at as a guy that's such a tremendous talent. Texas just says, hey, we just want you here. We'll just figure it out. You could play either spot equally well. So let's just figure it out when you get here.
Jerry, one of the things, I mean, we watch this, that leap over the player, and then, as you mentioned, the athleticism to actually accelerate after that's kind of ridiculous. Those are things you don't really see because he gathered himself so quickly. I love the idea of him playing either side. The thing that I focused on, and this is what you and I were talking about yesterday, and I wrote this morning on OnTexasFootball.com. You win with playmakers, touchdown scorers, just straight ballers. That's what Jermaine Bishop is,
yes,
to the nth degree. It's not like he's not going to be just another one of the guys. That's not who he is, and that's not what he's been. I mentioned this too. I mean, what's amazing to me, Jerry, usually you and I have been around a long time, right? And when you see district defensive newcomer of the year, okay, that is almost 9 times out of 10 some sophomore that's going to be pretty good, right? It's not a freshman. And Jermaine Bishop was district defensive newcomer of the year as a freshman, 80 plus receptions a year ago. He also had, and I want to say another thing that makes me even more confident about his ability, Jerry. He played with DJ Lagway when he was a sophomore, right? Yeah. The Florida quarterback now. Had amazing stats as a sophomore. So you kind of thought, okay, is it the chicken or the egg? Did DJ Lagway open it up for Jermaine Bishop or vice versa? Well, so what does he do last year without DJ Lagway? 80 plus receptions, 1,500 plus yards, 18 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So this isn't a knock on DJ Lagway. It's me saying they both can be great, right? And so I think that's part of it. I'm also, we were talking about it beforehand, related to Michael Bishop, related to Jimmy Butler, apparently the NBA star, as well as Rock Cartwright.
Yeah. His mom on the mom's side she's related to Rock Cartwright.
Yeah, and so my point is a lot of positives in this recruitment, in my opinion, but none more positive than the fact he's going to be playing in Austin on Saturdays in the near future.
And this is one of those. Look, I mean, there's a lot of questions with players' weights and things like this, and I kind of brush them all off because I think sometimes it gets overrated what a guy weighs in high school.
What is the Xavier Worthy weigh?
Right. I mean, well, it's like this because like Jermaine Bishop after January 20th Junior Day, I think he was 156, 158 pounds. So a lot of people, is he big enough? Same thing, John Turntine, is he big enough? Man, some of these guys are just tremendous players, and you just let college strength and conditioning coaches do their part. And you just sometimes you just got to realize, okay, these guys are maybe just great players, period. And it's all going to work itself out. And everybody develops on different timelines, their bodies. Because like when you see Jermaine Bishop in person, his lower body, as it should be with 12 minutes of highlights running around a football field, cutting full speed, his lower body is ahead of his upper body. And I think he's still growing a little bit, closing on 6 feet tall. And will he be built like Devontae Smith? Somebody asked about. Will he be built like Xavier Worthy? Will he end up being built more in the 175, 180 pound range earlier as a college football player? I've told the story before, like Calvin Ridley. I saw Calvin Ridley at Monarch High School. He when I was ESPN Under Armour, we had him playing in the Under Armour game. He's 158 pounds as a 19-year-old senior in high school. And he's 182 pounds when he plays his first game for Alabama. And so you just got to, with some of these kids, man, they're on different runways. They develop at different rates. Some of it can be, look, these are multi-sport guys. They don't really train full time for strength and conditioning in football, but these guys just develop at different rates. But man, the one thing about this, Bobby, tremendous players are tremendous players no matter what. Bottom line.
The game of football is to get into the end zone. He did it 18 times as a receiver last year.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just put that out there. The other thing, and I mentioned him as a freshman, he's also a varsity basketball player as a freshman. Ran varsity track that early. I mean, so I don't know what to say other than excellent young player, athlete. Want to see what he can do at Texas. If he were to remind me of a former Texas player, I think that the one guy that comes to mind, at least as an athlete, now not necessarily, he may be faster actually, but it's Nathan Vasher.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because he is Nathan Vasher in high school. Not many people remember this, but he's out of Texarkana, Texas High. He played offense and defense, and he could have played either one in college, despite him being a little bit smaller. But that sort of athleticism and ball skills are what we're talking about. Nathan Vasher still holds the all-time UT record for number of interceptions in a career. So that is who he reminds me of. He's a little faster, outright faster than Nathan, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But same body type. He looks like he has the same body type, Jerry, same size-ish. At the same time, played every sport, et cetera, et cetera. Nathan Vasher had a long career with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, look, I threw a name out there, and you hate to do it, but the people ask questions, so you just got to be real. Ed B asked, what is his track times? He's not I think he's a football guy, football fast guy. I'm not even sure he weighs a little bit more than that, closing in on 6 feet. Look, somebody asked me, and I said, and I'm not saying he's going to be this player. You hate to put this on people, but he's got a little Peter Warrick in him. And he gives he gives you the dead leg, the shoulder, the chest drop, and then he accelerates. Now, Peter Warrick wasn't necessarily track fast, so to speak, but on a football field, he was explosive, and he was always faster than any times you tested him at. It's almost a how fast do you need to be. I think Jermaine Bishop is a How fast do I need to be to make this play player? How many moves do I need to make? How many people do I need to make miss? How quickly do I need to get to my top end? I think guys that are just instinctive like that, you kind of throw all that stuff out the window and just say, just go do your thing, go make plays, because you know from watching him that, you know what, as fast as he needs to run, he will. As quick as he needs to react, he will. Does he need to throw a hurdle? Does he need to throw a reverse spin? Does he need to give you the dead leg? Does he need to drop the shoulder on you? How many guys does he need to miss in the phone booth at a punt return? Those guys just kind of do it, you know? And it's like somebody that was talking, I was talking to Rob Lanier one time about TJ Ford. And he said, TJ Ford could never tell you why he did it and what he was thinking a lot of times. When he was a young player, as he matured, he could. TJ Ford is just such a great player that he said it was just all reactive. Okay, what do I need to do here? Now, as he grew in the game, obviously his mind was great, but he said so much of it was just with TJ was just instincts. And you'd ask him later, he said, hey, why'd you do that? He doesn't even remember why he did it. He just did it. And I think that's kind of the way some of these guys like a Jermaine Bishop, a Peter Wark, some of these guys are as athletes.
All I know is we're 10 plus minutes into the show and his highlights are still running.
Now, we're trying to cover all his highlights. It takes a while.
That tells me quite enough.
Well, we got more recruiting to talk about. We've just now scratched the surface. But first, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone about our sponsor today, Vaughn Lane.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've got to get from one city to another, then like always, it's a toss-up whether to drive yourself or fly. There's actually a third option now. You don't have to deal with the airport chaos and hope your flight isn't delayed, or brace yourself for hours behind the wheel, beating traffic and burning a day and getting a neck ache on the way. Now there's a third option, and it's better in every way. It's Vaughn Lane. You arrive at a luxury hotel terminal, no TSA lines, no long-term parking lots, just a seamless boarding experience that takes minutes, not hours. You settle into a plush leather seat, a hot towel, pillow, blanket are at your arm's reach. Your attendant offers complimentary snacks, beverages, and on select trips, a full meal. Need to relax, lean back and enjoy the ride. If you want to stay productive, there's high-speed Wi-Fi and power at every single seat. So while you're unplugging or powering through, the Vaughn Lane team is monitoring traffic in real time using smarter routes and efficient detours to keep your trip smooth and on schedule. And now is the perfect time to plan your fall travel. Booking is open through September. So whether you're headed to a college football game, a weekend getaway, or a business trip that needs to be done right, Vaughn Lane makes the journey part of the reward. Vaughn Lane serves Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, San Antonio. They even do now Plano. They've got a place in the Woodlands, and they're also in the Southeast, Atlanta, Nashville to Memphis. Visit vaughnlane.com and use code OTF25 to save $20 on your first ride. Vaughn Lane, elevated regional bus transportation. We've got a lot of people here that use Vaughn Lane and swear by it. Again, vaughnlane.com.
Thank you, Bobby. And Jerry, we're just going to let you continue. You got a ton of recruiting stuff this morning, so keep on keeping on.
Yeah, so I was there was a lot of stuff going on. Okay, so we're going to get to your questions. Xavier Griffin, obviously decommitted at Gainesville High, Texas. I believe made in-home visit with him last night. Going to be at the school today, June 13th. OV. We've been saying he'll set up his official visit. Same thing with Derek Cooper. We're just kind of waiting on these dates. James Johnson, we believe, will be June 6th through 8th. Devon Benjamin, June 6th through 8th. So I saw Dia Bell yesterday, doing great, by the way. We're in about a 12-minute interview with Dia, either Friday or Saturday here on the YouTube channel. I did a sit down. That's Dia's helmet at American Heritage. If you're not following the thread on ontexasfootball.com or didn't see that on social media, but that's Dia Bell's helmet he wears. It was great to see him back. He's probably he's really, really close to being 100% after that injury. He looks really good, throwing it extremely well out there. He talked about becoming more of a leader last year and kind of becoming more of the vocal leader. He talked about a lot of that stuff. He's solid with his commitment to Texas, as he talks about. I saw Rajah Bell, who we've had on the show, who came out to practice a little bit yesterday before I went to St. Thomas Aquinas. His little brother, Ty Bell, for those that don't know, is one of the top 2028 basketball prospects in the country, 6'3" guard that Florida State offered on Tuesday. And I think Purdue and some others are getting close to offering him, and Texas does know about him. But Diabell, solid with his commitment, has a great relationship with A.J. Milwee. A.J. Milwee's coming back out there next week. He's already been out once, talks weekly with Milwee and Sark. It's funny, they were talking about the other guys in Florida Texas is recruiting, whether it's Justice Fitzpatrick, Derek Cooper, Kendall Gerville, James Johnson. I mean, there's just more guys. Sam Roseborough. There's more guys in Florida that are making official visits than ever before. And Diabell had some thoughts on that about Texas recruiting in Florida. Then I went over to St. Thomas Aquinas to see Justice Fitzpatrick. And let me tell you, Justice Fitzpatrick's a stud player. I mean, he is a tremendous football player. That's the younger brother of Minka Fitzpatrick. I think we have some huddle here of him. What I loved about Justice Fitzpatrick, I'll get to his recruiting in a second, is so St. Thomas Aquinas has gone from a 4.3 to a 4.25 this year. So he's kind of playing everywhere for them. He's kind of playing a nickel right now. They're putting him in a position just to go make plays. There's college coaches. There's a number of college coaches there. I've asked college coaches about Justice, their thoughts on him that may be different than my thoughts on him or anybody. They just think, look, the guy can play corner, he can play nickel, he can play safety. He said he can play anywhere. And I was talking to somebody at STA yesterday it's very familiar with him and Minka, and said his physicality, Justice's physicality, whether he's playing corner, whether he's playing nickel, whether he's playing safety. And he's going to play a lot of nickel for STA this year is what he's going to play. But great build, great frame, 6'1", 185. Can really run, very physical player in practice. That's, I think, one of the things that stood out to me is he doesn't stay blocked. You see there on the perimeter, he gets off blocks. He brings his hat. He got up slow a couple of times and brought his hat the next play. It was a physical practice and team. I just love Justice Fitzpatrick. I think he is a tremendous football player. And I think Georgia's been the favorite in this recruitment for a while. Obviously, Kirby Smart was huge in his recruitment to Alabama, but right before Kirby got hired at Georgia. Then Glenn Schumann was big in Minka's. I'm talking about Minka. It was big in Minka's development at Alabama before going to Georgia. So there's a long-standing relationship with the Fitzpatrick family. But I'll say this. I mean, he had some great things to say. He already had a relationship with Mark Orfe prior to the unofficial visit. His family loved the unofficial visit more so than they thought they would. He changed his Texas official visit date. I put this out this morning from June 13th to June 20th. So Texas gets him on the last official visit weekend before the dead period. So he goes to Georgia on the 30th through June 2nd. That's Georgia's big weekend. Georgia goes early. Texas goes late. Then he's going to go to Miami. He's going to go to Florida. He's going to go to Ohio State. And then he's going to go to Texas. So it's no holds barred recruitment. Texas is all in on him. He's a tremendous football player. And these are the battles you want to be in, 35 or 40 of these battles. I have a lot more recruiting stuff we'll get to. It's the date people are asking about Xavier Griffin. Texas is in it. Texas, Alabama, Ohio State. I think he'll stay in the Southeast, similar to the Justice Terry recruitment after he decommitted from USC. I think Justice Terry was going to stay in the SEC. I'll be surprised if Griffin doesn't stay in the SEC, but we shall see on that. And again, Texas was in home with him last night and is going to be at Gainesville High today. And there's so much recruiting. There's so much going on. I was told yesterday, Luke Waffle out of the Hun schools, it looks like a Texas versus Penn State decision. He's been on campus 3 times. He'll be back for June official visit. I think offensive line recruiting is getting very interesting because there's 5 guys and Texas would take all of them, but all of them, you won't get all of them one. And what if somebody waits too long? And then there's Joel Irvin that I saw at Fort Myers on Tuesday. Joel Irvin is the guy that Texas is now going to get in on a little bit on the offensive line. And I'm here to tell you, I don't care about rankings. His upside may be as good as any of them. And maybe more so than all of them. So there's a lot going on in recruiting right now. Texas coaches will be in the state of Georgia a lot today, in North Carolina next week. I think they're going back to see Devon Benjamin. I put that out on TexasFootball.com this morning. Going back to Cali next week to see some of those guys. Lau and Clark, I think, was at Jake Cruel at IMG to see Jake Cruel. I think Trenton Henderson School, Pensacola Catholic. There's a lot going on. These coaches are everywhere right now. And things are developing quickly as far as getting guys locked in for OVs. and making some starting the trend with some guys. So there's a lot going on in the recruiting world right now, as you'd expect in mid-May.
Can I say this? I mean, you mentioned Justice Fitzpatrick, Xavier Griffin-Haynes. If Georgia is your opponent and you're recruiting a defensive player, you are likely recruiting the right player.
Yes.
that would be my comment to that, Jerry.
Yes.
They've done a tremendous job. And so Justice Fitzpatrick, Xavier Griffin-Haynes, Jermaine Bishop. I think we had a what do you call it? A super chat on Jermaine Bishop here. Bishop's comp on 24/7 is Jordan Addison. Do you see that? Because I didn't necessarily see that. Do you like the former USC/Pitt wide receiver, the first round pick of the Minnesota Vikings? I didn't see that much at all. I mean, I think he's a little bit more physical than Adams was.
Yeah, I don't think from a player standpoint. I think from a frame standpoint, maybe. But look, was at the NFL Combine, I think Jordan Addison was what I was just looking at, 5'11" and an 8, 173. So he only had 8 3/4 inch hands. But I think from a height, weight, frame standpoint, but I agree with you as a player. I think they're different.
Okay. And then this one from Drew Lockhart. Good morning, Bobby, etc. How big was Devontae Smith coming out of high school? Rod B was thinking Bishop, similar to Devontae Smith. Other than Peter Warwick, your thoughts? Jerry, I know we saw Devontae Smith at one of the All-Star games.
Yeah.
160 at most.
Yeah, I mean, him and Calvin Ridley are two of the smaller weight guys I've seen. Devontae was probably 6'1". I remember he was at a camp I was part of when he was a sophomore. We did that camp in Jackson, Mississippi. I swear he was 153 pounds. Like he was really thin, just a thin frame guy. And so he was hovered around 160 coming out of high school. Such an explosive player.
Yeah, so that's what I would say. I mean, there's a bunch of guys, and this really kind of tops it off from Drew Lockhart. After listening to the live stream, I want Rod B to know I'm taking him back in the day over these massively talented youngsters. Rod B and those guys brought it every day. Devontae Smith brought it every day.
Yeah.
Calvin Ridley brought it every day. That's if you're gonna succeed and be that size. Xavier Worthy brought it every day.
Yeah.
You have to do that, or else you're not going to. You can't do it the other way. And so, I think that Jermaine Bishop seems to be one of those folks that
he has the Xavier Worthy mindset. Those guys have to be in mentally the most physical player on the field, even though it may not come across that way because they're not big enough for it to show all the time. But those guys have to be the most physical in their mind. They have to bring it physically, Bobby. I totally agree. And all those guys do. All of them do.
Yeah. If you don't and you're that size, you got no chance.
Yeah, no zero.
I mean, and now Texas has recruited some of those guys before. And they didn't pan out. At least not as an elite player. But I'm not really worried about Jermaine Bishop. I think he's more of the latter, the former than the latter.
Hey, let's go ahead and knock out this other super chat that we have while we're doing super chats. This is one from Justin Yarbrough. What are y'all's thoughts on Texas UIL approving headset communication for Texas high school football?
I mean, I don't.
We're going to score more points in high school football now. What do we need? Like 85 to 80 games?
Yeah. Is that? I mean, do you think that even matters in high school football? Were people trying to steal signs and successfully doing so in high school football?
No, but I'll tell you what I think. I'll tell you where I think it matters is if you're a high school quarterback and you have Scott Surratt in your ear, I think it matters.
So you're talking about the actual conversation they're having, as opposed to the actual play call.
Yeah.
Fair.
Scott Surratt can call his play straight into the headset of his quarterback now. Yeah. So he's even more dangerous than normal.
Remember to look for this guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's scary. That's pretty scary in high school football because it's already scoring records. I mean, that's for the offensive coaches, the play callers out there, that is a good place to be, especially you think about how, the communication with your quarterback play in, play out. That is a huge thing in high school football. I can't even imagine what that's going to do for scoring.
it should help 2-minute offense too.
Yeah.
A little bit. Just getting in the speed with which you can actually get the play call in, etc. So, now, I mean, look, Texas high school football traditionally has done a really good job of being ahead of the game of other high school associations, in my opinion. So I think that's indicative of them being forward thinking. They were one of the first to approve NCAA rules for their games. It's way back in the day. So they've been at the forefront of a lot of things. So that's actually good to hear, because it'll just make them more prepared for college too.
Yeah.
The right
Good
guys.
point.
All right, well, we've talked high school football. We've talked high school recruiting. Let's talk the portal for a second here. Bobby, you actually, I think, brought this to our attention, but ESPN ranks college football's 100 best transfer portal players, and only 2 Longhorns on the list, guys, and way down the list at that. We'll start with Watson, of course, the defensive tackle from Syracuse. They have him at 67, and I'll put that back up on the screen in a moment for everyone to read. And then Indries, the tight end out of Cal, at 90.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Texas took, let's talk about it in whole, right? Texas took 11 players in the transfer portal this year. Only 2 of them are ranked in the top 100. Okay. No Cole Brevard, who I think is going to start for Texas. So Texas is going to be a top 5 team in the country. And you're going to tell me a guy that's going to go in and start at Texas is not going to be a top 100 player. I just doubt that.
No chance
about that. I looked over and over this list. Jeff Howe's actually going to do a breakdown of not only this list, but 24/7s and on 3s as well, to kind of do an industry comparison. The overall, Texas was not rated highly. Their players were not highly rated in the portal compared to, say, Texas Tech, or to even Clemson, or Ohio State, or Oregon, etc., or Miami. I'm not so sure I agree with it. I'll just put it that way. And I think that, for example, I'll give you an example. Micah Hudson,
Yeah,
he did nothing as a true freshman at Texas.
Ranked ahead of ranked ahead of the list, and Emmett Mosley's not.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and so Micah Hudson, who did nothing as a true freshman, then transfers to A&M, then transfers back to Texas Tech, is rated as a portal guy, way ahead of a guy like Emmett Mosley, who caught 48 passes. And so, look, long story short, Texas's recruiting class from a portal perspective was not ranked highly individually. We'll see if that's true or not.
I'll throw another one out.
I want to say this. I counted, like, there were a lot of quarterbacks on the list, and Texas clearly didn't go after one of the elite quarterbacks for reasons. For obvious reasons. They did take a backup quarterback. The thing that I wanted to add to this, I counted at least 25 guys on the top 100 list that Texas could have offered or went after that they passed on. So, at positions of need or positions of interest. So what does it really mean? That would be my comment. And I will say this, I'm not picking on ESPN here, because the on 3 list and the 24/7 list are very similar. 2 guys for Texas in the top 100 in both. So, all right, we'll see.
Yeah, look, another one's Brad Spence. I mean, 54 tackles and 4.5 sacks in the SEC, man, as a sophomore.
Yep.
He's higher on NFL boards than he is on these lists.
Yes. We're on the same page, Jerry. But I think it's important, because that means that, the expectation level gets tampered a little bit, or tamped down a little bit. So we'll see. But I wanted to bring that up because I think that Texas had a much better portal period than people realize. And I think it's going to surprise some folks. They addressed needs at defensive tackle. They got a playmaker on defense, I think, and Brad Spence adds to the pass rush game. I think they got the receiver that they liked in Emmett Mosley. So they got a tight end. He's the number 2 ranked tight end, by the way, in the portal, but ranked all the way down at number 90 in that list. And the guy right behind him that went to U of H, Texas didn't want at tight end. So I feel like it's a little. I feel like that list was lacking, and I think all the portal ranking lists, frankly, have been lacking in the last as an industry. I think it's just
people have a hard time with the rankings list leaving highly ranked players behind.
Yeah, in high school, highly ranked players,
highly ranked prospects come out of high school behind. It's just that's the problem with the portal rankings is they're leaving too much of that as part of the equation.
What? Hey, let's ask this: if Quinn Ewers would have went in the portal, he would have been the number 1 ranked portal guy, right?
Yeah,
most likely.
Yes,
he was a 7th round draft pick.
Yeah.
How many guys in the portal this year are going to go higher than the 7th round?
Great point.
And so I could even use a Texas player as an example there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to get to some questions here momentarily. But first, Jerry, I'm going to let you tell everyone about Mark Saunders.
I'm going to tell you about the insurance, the only place you need to look for all your insurance needs. That's Texas Allstate agent Mark Saunders, who serves the Austin and Round Rock and the area in the entire state of Texas. That means he's the only insurance agent you'll need, and he's University of Texas alum. From everything from your home, car, and boat to your motorcycle, RV, and your ATV if you got one of those. Call Texas Allstate agent Mark Saunders' office today, 512-218-8571. Are you in good hands? You'll be in great hands with the more than 35 years of experience that Texas alum Mark Saunders brings to the table. Again, if you live in the Austin, Round Rock area, or the entire state of Texas, give him a call, 512-218-8571. Sorry, Oklahoma fans, this is one area he can't help you, and you need insurance.
Only if you live in Austin, Round Rock area.
With that schedule, you need insurance. This is the Texas alum Mark Saunders can do a lot of things. That's the one thing he can't do.
He can't help you with that October schedule.
No.
Oh, man. Well, I'm going to let everyone know about Huel as well, because if you're constantly on the move or maybe you're just tired of skipping meals, Huel has you covered. Their Black Edition ready to drink is a total game changer. It's a complete in a bottle. I got a strawberry banana one right here that I'm enjoying this morning. 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, high fiber, low sugar. You're going to feel full, focused, and ready for your day. Best part is there's no prep, no cleanup. Just grab it and go. And Huel's already sold over 500 million meals around the world, and now it's your turn to try it. New customers get 15% off plus a free gift at Huel.com when you use code ONTexas. And it's almost the end of the school year. My morning's still very, very crazy trying to get the kids off to school, trying to prep for coffee and football. It is very hectic for me in the mornings, and that's where Huel Black Edition comes in. It's my go-to. Grab it out of the fridge, give it a good shake, and I'm ready to go. So start saving time like me and money without compromising your nutrition today with this exclusive offer for new customers. Remember, you get 15% off plus a free gift when you use code ONTexas at Huel.com. Again, Huel.com. Huel.com, promo code ONTexas. Please see the description for terms and conditions. Skip the stress, not the nutrition. Try Huel today for complete nutrition bottled. We have a new super chat that just came in. This one from Jay Lee. Thank you, Jay. And he says, Jerry, UT has a list. Does UT have a list of 1 to 5 guys they want at a position and then rank them 1 to 5? What do they do if the bottom guys want to commit before the top guys? How do they navigate that? Do they wait for those top guys, et cetera?
Look, I think they do, but I also think that part of this is continuing to evaluate that board a little bit. And then when June official visits begin, that board can change based on an official visit as well. So do they, in theory? Yeah, and it may be 1As, 1Bs too, right? It may not be a list like that. But I talked about it earlier. Look at offensive line. I mean, there's some really talented guys out there that yet to make decisions. All those guys, if they all raise their hand, couldn't be in the class. So it's how the dominoes fall. It's the timing of all of it. Because I'm just here to tell you, Malachi Lee, I don't care where he's ranked, He doesn't get as much attention in this chat. Texas thinks he's a potentially great player after going out to see him. And Johnny Nance had already been out to see him. Him and Kyle Flood went last week. So rankings aside, there's a bunch of really talented offensive linemen Texas in on Sam Roseborough, right? Zayden Crimpen, and that could come down to he wants to play tackle. Could he play tackle at Texas? But then you have Turntine and Ojo. Then we saw a kid, Joel Irvin yesterday, 2 days ago at Fort Myers, who may end up being on the board as well. And he may have as much upside as any of them. So I think there's always that chance that if dominoes really start to fall, somebody really good just may not have a place. And that's part of it. Could you extend, if you're going to take 5 offensive linemen, could you extend the 6? Possibly. You aren't extending the 7, though. So not in this class. So there could be somebody, and all those guys won't end up picking Texas because the dominoes will fall a certain way. NIL could be a factor, right, where some people value guys versus others. But there's boards. Of course, there's boards. But I will say this, the boards aren't set in stone. And that's why these guys are on the road right now.
And guys could be equals.
Yep.
You know, they're I know for a fact there have been times where whoever commits first out of these two, you know, it all depends. I think Jerry did a good job of explaining that it depends on the situation every single time. There's not one set answer for us to give you. And what the answer might be in January when they have 0 commitments versus what it might be in November when they have 23 could be totally different. So it's also dependent on time of the year. Now that Jermaine Bishop is on board, what does that do at corner? But they have got Hayward Howard Jr. already committed, or what does it do at wide receiver? If they consider him that long-term. So I feel like what Jerry's getting at and saying is it's just totally dependent. You can have a board ranked 1 to 5, and you can definitely tell people that are down the board a little bit, hey, there's a way to do that without actually telling someone, by the way.
Right.
You don't have to say, oh, no, you can't commit right now. You more or less to say, how are things going? You don't push for a commitment.
Yeah.
Is what ends up happening. So that's more of what happens. A little more soft landing in that, as opposed to just hard and fast rules. So there, that should give that answer, Jay.
Brendan wants to know, where do you think the Texas front 7 stacks up to the rest of the country? He feels that it's at least top 3. The depth is what does it for him.
I think that's a great thought. I think the edge position's got to stay healthy, Bobby. With Colton Vosick, can you get a fully healthy season out of him? Because if you can, then that front 7 adds a really talented player to it, but we just haven't seen him be healthy at Texas. What does Zena, who Texas has high hopes for, obviously hurt his thumb, missed a lot of time in the spring. How soon does the Lance Jackson and Justice Terry's factor into that at edge? I actually like the interior of this team. I think Cole Brevard, Murad Watson, Alex January, Travis Shaw, Hero Canoe. Texas loves the 2 freshmen, but they're going to play limited snaps early on this season and as they develop, because it's such a developmental position. But I think Colin Simmons may be the best defensive player in college football this year. I think he very well could be. And then you have Ethan Burke with all that experience. So I really like the Texas front 4, and then I like the front 7 because I think this is the biggest, best, most athletic, as a whole, versatile group of linebackers I've seen Texas have in many years.
Add Brad Spence to that list. Add Trey Moore, who's working at a different position. I think the Brendan who mentioned this is right. They just have variety,
yes,
and a number of different ways they can play you. What Vosick brings, I think, Jerry, one of the reasons why you mentioned him, he's a true strong side defensive end. And I'm not sure they have that without Colton Vosick. So like Ethan Burke, even though he plays strong side, is truly built more like a weak side end. He just is, but they're playing him on the other side because Colin Simmons is who he is. So I think that's one of the reasons why Colton Vosick is important to that group. Zena potentially as well, if he comes along from a size wise. But Brad Spence, Trey Moore, neither one of those guys get talked about very much. They're going to be factors in this defense. I have no problem saying it's a top 3 to 5. I don't know the rest of college football well enough to tell you definitively it's top 3. I just don't. I know
I'll put in the biggest jinx of all time, but this might be the first time in a long time that Kirby Smart might say, you know what, I might take that front 7 over there, because he lost so many players to the NFL draft. I mean, they lost so many guys, and they have some talented guys as well, but this may be the first time he's looked over there and said, they're at least equal to what we are.
They lost Damon Wilson, too, to Missouri in the transfer.
Yes.
So they didn't just lose the 2 linebackers. They lost another edge rush guy, too. So, I mean, I don't know if that'll be the case, Jerry. I mean, they're so talented up the middle.
And they lost Stackhouse and Brinson, too.
Yeah.
They lost all those dudes.
Do you know have you heard how the 2 Conroe Oak Ridge guys are doing over there?
Love them. They both those guys are seen as first, second, third round picks. Jonah Janye got hurt this spring, I believe, or late in the season. But no, they love both those guys from
and Justin Williams, the linebacker, as well, because that was the other guy Texas was after. Yeah.
And then there's the kid who's had a trouble staying healthy there that they need to have a healthy season, like Texas needs Colton Vosick, is Jordan Hall, the D lineman out of the Jacksonville area, out of was it West Side. I went and saw him in high school because Texas was trying to recruit him. He is uber talented. They need a big season out of him, and Christian Miller obviously is a future NFL guy. They need him to be a first, second round level player for them this year, because they lost a lot off that defense, front 7.
All right, we have a super chat here from Travis Bingham. When is USC going to learn #decommit season?
We need to play some video of this guy that just decommitted from them, because Texas is involved. Alec Clark, the new defensive ends coach for the University of Texas, recruiting him heavily. Jerry, I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is one of the best players in the country. 6'4", 215, on his way to 6'4", 235. Somebody asked on ontexasfootball.com, is he an edge? Is he going to be an edge guy? I said, nah, he's a linebacker. He can do it all, though. He can play off the edge. He can play in space. This guy's a tremendous talent. Plays at Gainesville High in Georgia. Obviously, they've had a number of players over the years, Deshaun Watson, a few others. You can look it up on the wiki page. But this guy closes ground. He eats up angles. He can rush off the edge because he has that twitch and he has that length. And he's going to have that 235, 240-pound frame. But he's not just exclusively that at all. He can play off-ball linebacker as well. He is one of the top prospects in the country as a defensive player, just a player in general, in my opinion. So whether he's ranked 10, 15, 30, I mean, he's one of those guys in the country. Watch the speed here. I mean, he's got real speed is what he has at his size too. So just a big time football player. And look, it's going to be a battle at Texas, Bama, Ohio State, FSU gets a visit. I'll believe that when I see it, whether he actually goes there. But look, Lylan Clark, Johnny Nansen, Kenny Baker, obviously area recruiter. Kenny Baker's dad was a longtime head coach in the Atlanta area, as was Josh Dunson, who works in the in-house staff for Texas. So there's a lot of Atlanta and Georgia connections on this staff. But it's going to be a battle. But this is one of the best players in the country. There's no doubt. And in person, he looked every bit as big as he was listed, just like Derek Cooper did when they came for their unofficial visits. 6'4", 215 is very legitimate here for Xavier Griffin.
What I would say, I mean, this is just a general comment, very general comment. When these defensive players from the Deep South, Jerry, impressive. I mean, Kendrick Gerville the other day, his hand strength, when you were showing him hitting the sled.
Yes.
There's a reason.
It's a very physical brand of football.
Oof. Yeah, and I'm not
practices are physical.
I'm not downing anybody, but it's just a little different now. A little different.
I mean, that Fort Myers practice Tuesday, I tried to go back and think about how many reps I saw Gerville take in a high school practice, and reps against the Joel Irvin, the kid. He may have had 35, 40 reps in that practice before going to the sled for work. And they were all physical reps, right? It's all full contact physicality. It's a physical brand of football down these parts. And that's one of the things about and look, it goes back and forth. Texas had the most guys drafted this year in the state. They had unbelievable class of high school players drafted this year. Some years it may be Florida. Georgia's they don't have the population to really challenge Texas or Florida in that regard. Now, they've challenged California in draft picks now, but it goes back and forth. Those Florida kids, one of the things I've said about kids in Florida, I've never walked into high school where somebody didn't run 4.5, period, like ever. And they're physical kids down there just by nature in football, which is odd, Bobby, because they don't play middle school football in most counties in Florida. So, I was talking about that with the big offensive tackle kid. He never really played, much youth football. So it's really odd that those kids are that physical and they play more of the youth league football and don't really even play middle school football. They just go straight into high school football. It's different there. And there's a few counties where they play middle school football. Georgia's the closest thing to Texas, though. Georgia's done a great job. And I'm saying copying in a good way, copying Texas high school football. They pay their coaches well. They have full-time strength and conditioning coaches. They have the athletic period. They have the whole booster club set up, very similar to Texas. Florida does not. It's a totally different thing. But it's no matter what state you're in and how the setup is, it's very physical brand of football. By the way, I think Alabama may be as physical as any state of kids I've ever covered doing this nationally when I was. Those kids are extremely physical in that state in football.
But by the way, I was talking to somebody yesterday morning, actually, Jerry, that was in Birmingham. They say Texas has a real chance at Vodney Cleveland.
They do. Yes, absolutely.
Out of Birmingham Parker. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. They absolutely do. And the whole thing comes down to, does Vodney want to go out of state? And there's some thought he does. Well, if he does, Florida and Texas are going to be your two. You see this guy get rocked back on that play. Is not even who we're watching. But if Vodney Cleveland wants to get out of state, then I think Florida and Texas are going to are established as your two to beat right now.
No.
Texas has a great look. They got a tremendous list of defensive line. We don't talk about it enough. Offensive line, because there's some highly ranked guys in the state. Defensive line is going to be really interesting because there are some really talented out-of-state guys coming in for June official visits. You have Kendall Gerville and James Johnson in Florida, two studs. Vodney Cleveland, Alabama. Tico Critton is still on the books for June 13th. We'll see if he makes that trip. But, you go Dylan Berrymon at a Monroe, an over-the-ball, zero-tech guy coming in. A lot of out-of-state OVs at D-line and edge in this class. Jamarian Carlton is now officially out there as June 6th through 8th as well as an in-state edge guy. Jamion Winfield scheduled to come in on June 13th. I think that recruitment, like some of these USC guys, is going to play out a while. But Texas has a lot. Emmanuel Ruffin will probably come in June 6th through 8th. Damari Simeon out of New Jersey, I think, is a stud player. He's coming in June 13th. There is a lot of tough decisions. Somebody was asking earlier, who is there a list? Who do you push for? Who they're going to push for? Because these spring visits are big in this. I really believe that. It's a chance. They've had these kids on campus, but it's one last, and they're going by to see all these guys twice, a lot of times, definitely once. They're watching them in these spring practices. They're talking to the high school staff. So they're kind of making some final decisions here. Some of them are just no-brainers, but they're making some final decisions here on who's going to be those initial really hard pushes around these June official visits. And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But it's Kenny Baker, Lau, and Clark are working with a really talented group at edge and defensive line. And I'm very interested to see how it's going to play out because I don't think they know how it's going to play out right now.
All right, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone about Vaughn Lane one last time before we get to our last few questions today.
Yeah, absolutely. I told y'all they have new places in Austin to meet up with on the north side of town, at the Woodlands in Houston, as well up in Plano and in Dallas, as well as their normal locations in those cities too. When you need to travel between major cities in Texas, you're stuck with two flawed options: fly and roll the dice with airport delays, security lines, and packed terminals just to spend 45 minutes in the air, drive and lose 5 hours to traffic, construction, and fatigue, arriving stressed and worn out, or choose the third way, Vaughn Lane. You arrive at a high-end hotel terminal, no airport chaos, no parking nightmares, no stress, just a few easy steps and you're boarding in minutes, and a seat is spacious, reclining, wrapped in leather with personal power outlets, fast Wi-Fi, and on-board attendants offering free complimentary snacks and beverages. While you relax or work, the Vaughn Lane operations team is behind the scenes, monitoring real-time traffic and adjusting routes to keep you moving more efficiently, getting you to your destination rested and on schedule. Now's the perfect time to plan ahead. Booking is open through September, so you can travel in. You can lock in travel for fall football weekends in Austin, business trips to Dallas, Fort Worth, or a getaway to Houston or San Antonio. Vaughn Lane proudly serves Austin, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, and San Antonio. Visit vaughnlane.com. Use promo code OTF25 to save $20 off your first ride. vaughnlane.com. Elevated regional bus transportation.
Hey, I got a good question I want to bring up. Chat, this is for you guys as much as it is for us. Greg, looking back, what was the one game or team other than OU that worried you every year in the Big 12? Also, what about the SEC going into our second season? Chat, what do y'all have on that one? I think that's a really interesting question. I can tell you, it was Iowa State. It's just when Matt Campbell got there, obviously, but even in the end of the Matt Brown era, I mean, tough place to play. You're not emotionally going to get up for that game. Then when Matt Campbell got there, obviously he's the best coach in Iowa State history. They're a sound team. They're kind of the first three high team, right, Bobby, that did it really well. They've had undervalued players and talent on offense, and they just played with a kind of a toughness under Matt Campbell and a competitive. You knew you had to play and execute well against Iowa State. Now, it was Bill Snyder, Kansas State back in the Matt Brown era. That was obviously the one in the Big 12. Yeah,
it rotated for me, to your point, Jerry. I think TCU with Gary Patterson, Art Briles and Baylor was always one that really the last 15 years of the Big 12, other than the final year, just pissed me off.
Mike Gundy.
And the reason why is because Texas too often went in there outcoached. I mean, how many times they get outcoached by those teams? Same level of talent, but got outcoached.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of the Matt Campbells of the world had no business beating Texas theoretically. Gary Patterson had as good or better talent, but he found guys that were more talented than Texas. And so it was ultimately evaluation / coaching that was hurting Texas. So this is the first time in 15 years where I feel like Texas is maximizing on all aspects. So it's hard for me to just pick one. I hated to go. I mean, Texas Tech. Texas was always more talented than Texas Tech, except at quarterback. Yet, how many games they lose to Tech over the years?
Yeah.
So that's my opinion.
And I would say this. What's interesting is, again, for the chat. So think about this in football and recruiting terms. You played 2 tough road games this year in the SEC, at Georgia and at Florida. If I said I said you could only win one, what would be the most important game to win this season?
For Texas?
Yes. So think football and recruiting. You want to be 90% of people are going to say Georgia, because you lost the last 2, and I think it creates a rivalry in the SEC. I just wonder how good Georgia's actually going to be this year. I know that's going to be the answer, but winning at Florida would be pretty big for future recruiting, I think. Kind of not letting Florida, because the state's in a little flux over there right now in recruiting. Somebody asked if I've seen a high this week in Florida. I have.
Yeah.
I haven't put it out on the message board yet, but yes. because I'm still a little leery.
Yes, there are those tepid ones that you want to dip your toe in and believe, but maybe you can't quite yet.
Yeah.
I understand talking about who you want to beat this year, and I understand the whole Georgia. I understand Florida. I still can't. Texas needs to beat. What happens to Oklahoma? I'm just gonna if they have another down year.
Well, the crazy thing about OU is, and chat, don't kill me. I'm talking hypothetically here. No hypotheticals. I'm talking hypothetically here. Oklahoma could upset Texas this year and still go 6-6 on that schedule and get fired. I mean, that's a brutal schedule, right? I mean, you could win the Red River shootout, showdown, whatever you want to call it, and off that schedule, still go 7-5 or 6-6. So, somebody said A&M too on there, and I will say this: Texas will be heavily favored in Austin, and you know, if Elko goes 7-5 in a normal 8-4 and loses to Texas again, that College Station is going to be a miserable place for him to be. But I figure most people would say Georgia, though.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. Like I would say,
it was 2 tough losses last year. They're the big dog, and it's kind of like when Kirby got to Georgia. It took him a while to get over the hump against Nick Saban, right? And it's a you got to go out and win, and if you can go out and win in their place, that really gets you over the hump. But it took Kirby a while to get over that hump against Nick Saban, and when they did, what it did to elevate Georgia even more so than what they were. So I get it with the chat for sure.
I'm a little bit different. I would just say take care of your own backyard first. And A&M, OU, just me.
That's been the other answers, but the chat's mostly been Georgia for the most part. We had 1 or 2 Arkansas, I think, a couple of Floridas, but mainly it was Georgia.
It sounds like the fans are all tied up about Georgia. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying I like to take care of my own backyard first, and that's A&M and OU.
Yeah. All right, we got one more super chat, Jerry. I know you got to hit the road here shortly, so let's get. Oh, we have 2 super chats. Excuse me. Through Lockhart, thank you again for another one. Ethan Burke, if he stays healthy and has a solid season, where do you see him in the draft?
Kind of depends where his body keeps going right now. I think that's going to be the thing for Ethan Burke. If he can put on good weight, I think that's going to be very, very meaningful for him in the draft. If he can show that he can play the run, I think he'll. Right now, I would say 4th round, 5th round, that range, but an ability to move upward.
And speaking of the draft, we have one other super chat that we'll close on today. This one from Derek Smith. Good morning, OTF from sunny San Diego. Where do you think Mookie goes in the draft? He's a complete safety, in my opinion.
First of all, I'm jealous on San Diego. It's one of my favorite places to visit.
It's sunny in San Diego? No, that's a shocker.
Where do you think Mookie Taft, Michael Taft goes in the draft? He's a complete safety. He could be a complete safety and not go until the 4th or 5th round.
Right.
That would be my point. I think it's going to be very interesting what he runs. If he runs 4.4, which I don't think he will, but if he does, he's going to raise some eyebrows because he is the ultimate. He reacts as quickly as you can on things. And I always talk about this, like Andrew Makuba was what did he come in at 6 foot 185 or something like that at the combine? I mean, just very average size, below average size even. Whereas the young man from South Carolina that Nick Emanawari, he came in at 6 plus 200 pounds, ran 4.3. Okay, even though that guy is much better athlete and prospect and all of those things than Andrew Makuba, the young man from South Carolina. Andrew Makuba actually reacted faster to plays. Michael Taft is similar to Andrew McCuba in that way. He reacts fast. And, at safety, that's more valuable sometimes. Now, you have to have the one thing I will say, certain safety positions, you have to have makeup speed. And that's where I would ask if Michael Taft has that makeup speed. 4th, 5th, 6th round.
That's kind of where I'm at as well.
Yeah. Again, people are going to, what you're discounting him. No, these are NFL players. Cam Williams just went in the 5th round. These are good football players.
And there's a lot of good guys around the country.
Right.
And this is now an international sport too. It's a worldwide sport, not like basketball, but it's continuing to be more of a worldwide sport now. And you're going to see more guys come over to the States internationally and become part of college football. And the crazy thing about the NFL is they'll take a college basketball power forward that hadn't played football since 8th grade. And they will see a development there. So it's the game of football is definitely changing. It's never going to be as worldwide as basketball, but we had Brandon Collier on here, the guy that helps the guys get to the States internationally. Think about how many guys he's brought over in the last 4 or 5 years that are playing college football now. It's double digit guys, maybe more than 20, 25 in the last 4 years. Some of those guys are going to be draft picks.
Hey, is the young man, speaking of that we haven't talked about, is Vladden Sone going to visit Texas? Do we know that?
He's scheduled to. That's a good point. We hadn't talked about him in a while. He's scheduled to be in the 22nd, 23rd, I think, right before the dead period. I think he's at OU the 20th, 22nd. Then he's going to come to Texas for a day and a half. He made an unofficial visit in January. I think that's the plan right now. I need to double check on that. That's what I was told was going to be his visit. And that's going to butt right up to the dead period.
Okay. He's living in Virginia, but from Europe right now. Defensive lineman.
All right, y'all. That's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football presented by Vaughn Lane. We want to thank them along with Mark Saunders and Huel all for sponsoring today's show. Of course, thank you all for tuning in as well. The great questions, the super chats. Don't forget, you can head on over to ontexasfootball.com. Get your questions answered over there. Part of the community. Jump in on the discussion. If you're not a member, use promo code OTFOG when you sign up, and you can get an annual subscription for just $49.95. Again, promo code OTFOG. And speaking of OTF, what's later today on the YouTube channel, Bobby?
Yeah, absolutely. Bob Shipley, Rod Babers getting together for the winning drive along with CJ Vogel. CJ, by the way, was out at was watching Destrehan, Louisiana, play Edna Carr. So he saw Hayward Howard, the most recent second most recent University of Texas commit. The cornerback play up against wide receiver Jamari Mack from Destrehan last night.
I think we're going to have a Kendall Gerville interview that I had with Kendall Gerville on Tuesday. I think producer Matt's going to publish that one today as well, which will be about 10 minutes plus the 3 minutes of highlights that we've shown here of Kendall Gerville today as well.
Yep.
Maybe some
Football theory also with Jeff Howe and Rod Babers this afternoon too.
And don't forget Texas baseball, last series of the season. You can't believe that we're already saying that. But against OU, that starts at 6:30 tonight. Also, just dropped some baseball notes over on ontexasfootball.com, including the latest on Max Blue. So be sure to go check that out. And, of course, we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Hook 'em horns.